Well, today I am going to do a study as much as I can on fasting techniques for chemotherapy. It's actually a thing. I didn't know it until I started reading Maggie Jones's blog, which is kind of what got me into the measurement and all the stuff that I do on this therapeutic ketosis journey. My name is Dave Jackson. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for spending the time with me and joining me on this journey. It's been a little crazy road, but it is exciting, and I want to share with you, and hopefully some of the stuff that I do share with you, you can use if you have a similar journey. I have been diagnosed with what appears to be, this is the way they tell it to you, what appears to be cancer of the gallbladder or the bile duct area. And that's something I address in another episode, something we can get into. But what I want to do now, because I've never had chemotherapy in my life, and I don't even have a port, don't have anything, is to do some research on what happens with chemotherapy and how fasting actually helps mitigate some of those crappy feelings everybody says comes along with the chemotherapy. So want to get into that. Really, I don't know one thing about ports, but what I do know is that everybody that I talk to tells me, Dave, you're going to fall in love with your port. I know that I absolutely hate needles. I don't like freak out when they're going to draw blood, but I do, do those faces and stuff, and I count ceiling tiles, I see what other people are doing, and try to get my mind as far away from as I can from them trying to find a vein. Because my veins, for some reason, my hands are not so bad. And my kids, they have the veins are normal. But for me, my dad was the same way as well. It was hard for them to find a good vein to poke or to put especially if they're like threading a vein to put an IV in. It's a totally different thing. I don't want to lay down here because that kind of looks crazy, but there we go. Is that better? Except for the sun coming up through the vertical blinds over there. Yeah. It is a good morning. I just had a cup of coffee. The reason I don't have it out here is because I did knock it with my fist. Can you believe that? You know how you look at something and said, you know what? That's sitting in a place where you may knock it over. And sure enough, it's like, don't say things because they come to pass, right? So be careful what your mouth says. Anyway, the thing about ports. Now, a port, the way I understand it, is an easier access, less painful access to a larger vein, or I don't know if it goes to the artery. I really don't know anything about it, but I'm gonna know because come tomorrow, today I have a day off, which is nice. It's nice when you get a day off from all this stuff. But tomorrow I have a visit with the actual surgeon who is going to be doing the surgery. It's actually a surgery where they put you under. So this is serious stuff. Anytime that they put you under and have to do something, it's pretty serious. So but that's the kind of stuff that I love, as far as if they're going to hurt me and poke holes in me and do things that would normally hurt if I was awake. That's the kind of thing I want. I want to go in there, you put me under, do your thing, right? And then I'll be in recovery. When I wake up, it may be a little painful, but at least I wasn't there when it happened, right? That's the way I want it. I mean, I was, but I wasn't. That's the way I want that to happen. So I'm going to learn about ports tomorrow. I have a 2:15 with the surgeon Warner. I'm not sure why they do this. Because when I went up to Moffitt Cancer Center up in Tampa, Florida, which is where I was diagnosed and where they did the majority of the prep, the CT scan, all the stuff that, allowed me to find out what I really had. I never saw a doctor, never met a doctor, don't know any. I know one doctor's name up there, Dr. Kim. That's only because my oncologist says that he wanted a second opinion from one of the doctors up there, and he mentioned this Dr. Kim. That's the only way I know any of the doctors. So this is unusual that I'm having a small surgery done, and I get to visit with the surgeon days before they actually do the surgery, which comes up on Monday. So this is going to be on a Friday. Got the weekend to do whatever and rest, right? And then the port actually would be put in sometime on Monday. The thing I have with a port, I mean, just think about it. You probably don't have a port, or you may have a port, right? And maybe you found this video to see, well, what is he doing, right? In his daily walk through this challenge. And if you do, well, congratulations to you. If you don't, just think of it. I mean, it's like you're thinking in your head, okay, I have this disease. It's serious. It's the big C word, and it's a challenge. But part of your mind goes, it's really not me. I mean, I'm the guy that, was healthy and had everything going and plans and everything, and there's no way you can stop this train. And then you still kind of think that way, in the back of your mind, like, part of you's still going. And then when you think, okay, but they're going to put a port on me somewhere, they do either one side or the other, I hear. That's kind of like, okay, you're branded, You do have the big C word. You do have that crappy thing. So that's that, I really don't want to know too much about them, how they function. I don't want to Google it. I don't want to see any YouTube videos. Let them put it in. When I have to go to chemo, I'm not going to be the one hooking me up. So, it's one of those things that the less I know about, unless there is some kind of, I'll know about the maintenance part, I'm sure. So, yeah. I want to tell you about something wonderful that has happened that it is a crazy good thing. Sometimes I do these studies. I got this book here. I'll go through a video like I did the 3 phases of metabolic syndrome I got in here, and then this last one that I did was with let's see here. This one was really good. The press pulse thing with Dr. Thomas Seyfried was really good. So I'm studying about the press pulse, which he thinks is a way to just like beat cancer down until it, it can't do anything. It just like dies out. So the press part was, doing like the therapeutic ketosis. That's like pressing against it, and then a pulse that would really knock it out. Could be chemotherapy, but he wants to do something that doesn't injure the body at all. And his pulse was finding these glucose and glutamine inhibitors. In other words, cancers, even though they're like malformed cells inside your body, they are hardy in that they're hard to kill, and they have a way of adapting. If they do find an environment that has been taken away from them that they have used for a long time to feed, they have a way of adapting and finding another way to survive. So what you try to do, the way I understand it is you try to like cut off all of the pathways that it's trying to find to survive. The biggest one that it uses to survive, of course, is sugar. You know, cancers love sugar. They love anything that you have in your body that turns into sugar, such as carbohydrates and maybe excess proteins. So you got to be careful on those two fronts, which is part of my therapeutic ketosis diet, is zero carbs and staying within my protein numbers that I think is very important for me. I'm trying to like get out of the way of this sun because it's like a little crazy. You know what I might do is scooch over a little bit and then turn the camera. Why can't we do that, right? Watch me knock the camera over. There we go. Yeah. Does that help a little bit? And get closer to you? Yeah, this will work. So yeah, I read this. I took notes on it. I watched the video twice. The second time I did, what I do is on YouTube, you know, when you press the space bar on your computer, it automatically stops the video. Anytime that I heard a word that I didn't understand, you know, I wrote it down like macrophage. What does that mean? What are they talking about? Neoplastic, what's, you know, and then ROS production. These things, I would go back to Google and look, okay, what does that mean? So the next time when you heard it, or you heard it in context of his videos and his teachings, it made total sense, you know, and it's like going back to school, but I love it, you know. So I'm learning, I have a good press, which is my ketogenic diet, you know, getting into therapeutic ketosis. Super good, right? Doing everything I can. But I don't have this punch thing. They were using like a, you know, some kind of a chemical makeup that they had there in the lab that would totally inhibit, not totally inhibit, but inhibit a whole bunch the glucose that was being uptaken by the cell, the cancer cell. What they were doing was experimenting with lab rats. They would inject them with phase 4 or level, what do you call it? Gosh, the levels of cancer, I guess, is, now I'm at a loss for the, how do you call that? Anyway, it was glioblastoma, the kind that you have, like, you know, brain cancer, category 4? Is that what you call it? Yeah, anyway. Still seeing if there's any coffee on my MacBook, because that was one of those close calls when I nudged that coffee with my hand, but I think I got everything. You don't want to have coffee on your Mac. So this was like, you know, cancer cells that were like totally like highly evolved, and they had 4 sets of rats that they did this, or mice that they did this in. The first ones, they injected them and they let the rats eat, and the mice eat anything they wanted. The second one, they fed them a high carb diet. The third one was the keto diet, and the fourth one was keto diet plus the glucose inhibitor. And then after, you know, they let them survive for a while, the ones with, you know, the high carbs and eat all you can survived out to like 14 days, 15 days, and that cancer just took over so fast. I mean, it just multiplied and they were gone. But the ketosis, the ones that were in the keto diet, which I found was interesting, which is what I'm doing all by myself here now, the cancer cells didn't die out near as much as they thought they would have, but they didn't progress. They were kind of like stopped. They didn't go from one area to the next area. That I thought was really good. But the ones with the glucose inhibitors were like the ones that were the most interesting to watch, because when they did the slides and the phosphorescent pictures that they do to show the, you know, the cancer cells light up under these conditions, that there were almost no cancer cells. They almost all died off when they could not get, not only had the ketones going on where they couldn't eat then, but also they couldn't find a way to find any more glucose in the body because they had a glucose inhibitor. So the people on Twitter that indicated this video for me, the Seyfried study here of the plus pulse, or press pulse as it's called, I wrote him back and said, yeah, but what do you do for this dawn that he's talking about, which is the pulse, this chemical thing that would inhibit glucose or glutamine. The interesting thing is I found out that our pulse can actually be fasting. Fasting does take down a lot of the glucose that's in your body and uses it for the fasting part. It doesn't allow anything else, the way I understand it anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong, as I always say. It doesn't let anything else use it. This is one way you can have a pulse. A lot of people can't do fasts, but a lot of us can. I mean, if you try to do a fast, I mean, you can do it, if you really try. And if you stay hydrated, make sure you're getting your minerals and stuff. But I mean, lay off the things that would make your body start doing stuff like, your liver functioning in a way that it has to, like, digest foods or digest fats, that kind of thing. You want to be fasting. So that was one thing. The other thing is he mentioned the drugs metformin. And Dr. Seyfried said there's like tons of common drugs that are like glucose inhibitors, because people that have diabetic situations use these all the time to inhibit uptake of sugar. So I thought, let's see which drugs are more readily available. There are two that he mentioned, the metformin, and then this one called chloroquine that we've heard about with the COVID-19 situation, the pandemic. It was highly used in a lot of countries. One country that it is has been used in for decades is where I grew up, Brazil. And it's been used there because they use it as a form of treatment for malaria. Malaria is a disease that is carried about by mosquitoes. But, you get high fevers and stuff. And it's something that once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. I mean, it can come back and you can have a mild relapse of malaria. It's something that really doesn't go away. So you need like a long-term treatment for it. And this chloroquine has shown to really help. The chloroquine is also a glucose inhibitor. So I talked to my friend, and this is the miracle part of all this, I guess. I talked to my friend down in Brazil, and Luis, who is, he's like family to me. He's like my brother. And we had been talking for a couple months now about this. He says, you got to come down here and see this Dr. Rubens. He's our doctor. He's not only more naturopathic, but he also deals with emotional problems with people. And, he could most likely set you up to get these things that you need, the metformin and the chloroquine, and then also to talk to you about what's going on in your life. He went as far as sending a message to Dr. Rubens yesterday, and already got an audio back from Dr. Rubens, and he forwarded it to me on WhatsApp. And I heard it, and Dr. Rubens is saying, oh yes, I deal with my cancer patients. He said, the main thing that people have to understand is this is a disease of emotion. It's like a very, you got to get the emotions right. And I'm thinking he's talking about being stable now, right? I mean, I'm like pretty, as you guys can see, I'm like pretty, got my stable going on, we were like a rock here. But that's not what he was talking about at all. He was talking about what got you to becoming not a recipient, but something that created cancer in your body. Now, on one side of me says, well, cancer cells are created because of the cell having respiratory problems, the way I understand it, and some of the science. and it sort of like mutates into this awful thing where the mitochondria of the cell is all crapped up, and it's a malformed cell. But that could be happening because of some strong emotional thing happening in your body. And when he talked about that, I talked to Louise and said, "Oh, now I know what you're talking about. It's like things happening in your life at the time that could be like strong emotional anchors that could have caused, like, maybe blaming something, or something that you're not really over yet, or it took the cancer happening to get over." For me, that was kind of the way it was. I mean, I had already gotten over a lot of what I think, if it's emotional that you want to talk about, may have caused that. Because, yeah, I admit that a lot of my drinking at the time was caused because of some emotional hang-ups that I had. And I think it's important to go back and visit these and make sure that you're cleared emotionally on all that. So I want that to happen. So I look forward to visiting. Dr. Rubin said he could even do virtual, which is really cool. So I do want that to take place. When I went to, and that is up and coming, of course, I'm going to let you guys know what happens with virtual visits with the doctor, and then, how I feel later. I think it's important, I really do, to address this. One of my early videos on this journey was how you really have to, like, get anchored in something stable with all of this going on in your life. I think it's very, very important. And the other thing that you have to have is, like, surround yourself with a group of really good people, like Louise, and like his wife Gioni, and like the other people in my life, my exes. They're part of my team, and all of my family, my kids, and nieces, and my sister, my mom. You just got to have this body of people that are, like, on your side and want the best for you and are positive, and give you that energy. All right. So another thing that happened that is going on during all this stuff that I have, like happening. Matter of fact, I got a call from my niece last night. She was saying, like, "What are you up to now?" And it was like my bedtime here on the East Coast. And I said, actually, I'm creating my Google Calendar, because I got a lot of stuff coming up, like, day after day in this month, and then next month too. And this is just such a blessing. This MacBook and Google Chrome, and it's things. I did pay for the MacBook. Google Chrome is free. Google Calendar's free. It syncs with my phone and lets me know when these things are coming up. All you have to do is, like, punch in the time and what's going on, the phone number, and it's just so cool. But one of the things that came up was a recall from American Airlines, where I do, that's my place of employment. You guys know that I have a few side hustles going on, such as a social media marketing agency, and some of the other things that I do, like consulting to help people on social media. So got that happening. And when that came up, and discussing with my that first oncologist visit that was in yesterday's video about, my visit to the oncologist, it was one of the questions, hey, can I go back to work? I mean, I like the flying part of it, and like the camaraderie. A lot of great people, a lot of my friends are in that company, and like to go and visit beautiful places. The thing is, though, the schedules there are just so crazy. I mean, you'd be like sleeping at it's not sleeping from 10 o'clock to 6. I get up at 6:50 in the morning. You could, like, end up in Memphis, Tennessee one night and go to sleep at 11 and have to wake up at 5, and then the next day you're going to sleep at maybe 1 in the morning and waking up at 9 in the, it's like, so that's the kind of schedule you have to deal with there. And he said, Dave, you're not going back to work. Let's deal with your health. And that was a good thing to hear. I figured out the vertical blinds. It's when the air conditioner comes on, it blows the blinds around, and that's what happens. So not going back to work for now. He said, I'll write up any paperwork that I have to write up. And yeah, I left one thing in the bedroom that I really wanted to talk to you guys about. So I'm gonna go get that, and I'll be right back, because there's an interesting part on it. It's my sheet that tells you all about how to prepare yourself for a PET scan. I've never had a PET scan. I've had the CT scan, where when we got the images back and looked through them up in Tampa at Moffitt Cancer Center, I wondered in my head, now how can these guys decipher this stuff? I mean, it looks like a bunch of just, I mean, you can see like skeletal stuff. This is your liver. But I mean, nothing in super high definition where you can say, see, this is the tumor happening right here. Then my tumor actually looked like an eraser mark on the picture. So that's how crazy it was. But I want to show you the protocol for getting ready for a PET scan. I thought this part was interesting. Rachel brought this up last night when she was looking at the sheet. So let me go grab that really quick. And while I'm doing that, maybe you guys can take a short little break. But don't go away. I'll keep the video rolling here, okay? And hopefully the camera doesn't fall over when I get up on the couch here. Now, granted, I am not going to read you everything on this sheet because it's quite lengthy, but I will read you some of the highlights on this. The reason why it was in the bedroom is because, if you can see, I did get some coffee on it, spilled, but just barely anything, so we're still good here. So this is the PET/CT FDG tumor imaging preparation sheet. I have no idea what FDG means. I can Google that. So this is what you want to do the day before your exam. This is so cool because you know how you guys know how I'm all into like the ketogenic diet, right? The normal ketogenic diet, you have an allowance for a certain amount of carbs, a certain amount of sugars, The whole idea is getting those things down to a sensible level, and then trying to eat a lot more fats. The more, for the most of us, if you are not vegan, the more animal fats you can do, the better, because that's, your body's just built for that kind of thing. So, but this is what they say: the day before your scan, keep a protein-based, low-carb, no sugar, listen to this, no fruit diet, nothing sweet, nothing starchy. Eat proteins like meat, chicken, fish, etc. You can also eat veggies, eggs, salads. Use only oil and vinegar dressing and cheese. Drink plenty of plain water. Avoid excessive exercise. Okay. Day of your scan, don't eat or drink anything but plain water. If you have an afternoon appointment, you may have a light breakfast 6 hours prior. Oh, okay. Let's see, make sure to take your medications. Please call the radiology department. Ask to speak to a technologist if any of the following scenarios, if you're in a wheelchair, at the bottom again, the diet guidelines: don't eat or drink sugars, candy, bread, yogurt, pastries, no gum, tortillas, desserts, ice cream. None of this stuff. No soft drinks, no coffee, no fruit juice, no rice, no grains, oatmeal, cereals. Don't do any of that. But it's okay to eat or drink plain water without flavors. You can have steak, red meat, pork, oil, vinegar, butter. They have margarine on here, but that's what people don't know, right? Tofu, fish, chicken. Avoid breading. eggs, hard cheese, zucchini, lettuce, celery, all the interesting things. So where did Rachel see this one part? That was the second sheet talks about insurance, but she saw this one part on here about pregnancy. Maybe it was on another sheet. No, come on. Oh, here it is. Remember, I was just saying, please call the radiology department to ask to speak with a technologist for any of the following scenarios if you're in a wheelchair. And if you weigh over 350 pounds, I'm sure they have to have like, lifts to get you around. But listen to this one. This is so interesting to me. Patient foresees being around pregnant women or small children during the 24-hour period after the scan. What does that mean? Does that mean that you're shot with so much radiation that it stays in your body to such a point that you could technically poison somebody else close by? That's just crazy. I've never heard of that. So that's a ton of radiation. Okay, guys, I'm going to do my research this morning. Going to make another cup of coffee here. Actually, what's coming up next for me, since it's almost 8:10 in the morning right now as I'm making this video, the next thing that's coming up is my blood work with the glucose ketone index, my keto mojo that I love so much. That's going to show me if I'm in ketosis or not. Yesterday was a crazy day for the fats because the first time I did pork belly chunks for breakfast with 3 eggs. Actually, it was my only meal that I had the whole day. It was so much fat, but it wasn't like crazy tasting fat. It was the fat tasted great, So it was very, very satisfying, which I'm sure my ketones loved as well, and I'm gonna have a good number for this morning. But what else did I have? I had something else later in the day. I tried a piece of my triple cream brie, but since I was so satisfied from all the fat coming off the pork belly, that it just didn't taste as good as it normally does, so that was that. But I'm not doing a fast today. I'm going to start tonight or later this afternoon, and then go all the way into where they put the port. So that's going to be like a 3-day fast for that. But I am studying fasting and chemotherapy, and I'll let you know about that in an upcoming video. Monday, I have the port placed on this body. And then after that, what's next? I'm not really sure. I know on the 18th, I have another visit with my oncologist, Dr. Santiago, but I'm thinking between now and the 18th, I'll probably start chemotherapy because that's like later in the month already. So when I do that, I want to be prepared with this fasting protocol. So I appreciate all you guys being around this morning or whatever time of day it is for you. Even with all the sunlight trying to come through here on the vertical blinds here from Naples, Florida. I hope your journey is going well. I wish all the best for you. This is what's happening with me, and I just want to keep you abreast of what's happening and also the research that I'm doing. And, like I said from the beginning here, I am not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I read stuff and it's more laid back kind of interpretations of things. It's not like, I'm not going to come back at you and say, well, the reason you should do this is because 8.2% of the blah, blah, blah. No, it's not going to be that. It's going to be like, you should really lower that, So because although I'm very, very, you got to be in this as you do a therapeutic ketosis or a nutritional ketosis diet. You have to measure everything you put in your mouth. So, I do have the measurement stuff going on, But when it comes to talking to people, talking to you, you'll have to measure your stuff too. But at the same time, I'm going to tell you, you need to up your fats, keep your protein numbers in check because you don't want proteins turning into glucose in the body. And then, just follow your protocol, follow your protocol and measure. Use the Keto Mojo that I recommend. Buy that on Amazon. I always have the link in the description. And be measuring your ketones and get into ketosis and stay there, right? Don't be playing around with this. This is very serious stuff. So coming up with this PET scan, this is going to be one thing. It's going to be enable me to find out a first marker of what's going on with my diet. Am I really helping? Or, it's going to be like, maybe I won't be able to tell from the CT scan to the PET scan, but from this PET scan to the next PET scan to the next PET scan, we'll be able to see some kind of progression, all right? And this thing really do what it's supposed to do. So I'm gonna catch you tomorrow on the video. Hopefully you're having a great one. And keep in touch. Remember to subscribe. Please like the video if you thought this was something that was useful to you. And thanks so much for watching. Have a great one.